Hello, my loves, and welcome to a new episode of Publisher's Brunch with Karis. My name is Karis. I am the titular host of this podcast, and I am so delighted to be here today to introduce you to this episode. This week I spoke with Lauren Okie, who is an amazing author whose second book comes out in 2 days on June 16th, and so I was really, really excited to get to chat with her. In the lead up to her book Tropesick coming out. And before we pop into the episode, I just have a couple things I would like to chat through. First things first. Nixon 5, New York City, best city in the world. I went to my favorite bar last night to watch the Knicks game, and I was with so many of my amazing friends that I met through being a regular at that bar. And it was like, not to, I posted this on Threads earlier, but I was like, not to be, local woman discovers power of sports or whatever, but truly what a beautiful thing to gather a bunch of strangers into a room together, put on some sports, and have them all just sort of coalesce together in this way. And we were watching it on the projector inside the bar. There was like someone set up a TV outside, and a bunch of people were like sitting at the outside area watching it there too. And we could hear the screaming, the shouting, the like cheering, the whole city sort of like together in this hope and this wish and this desire, and the feeling of joy that came with it. Like, I just, fuck New York, like we're on an amazing tear this summer. We've got Mamdani as our mayor. The Knicks won the first championship in 53 years. And it's summer. Like, the weather is lovely. It feels good. And I said this on a recording recently where it's so confusing to me to like feel good in my personal life but know that things are not good in the world. And as an example, last night we had the Knicks winning, New York City coming together to celebrate, and then today is that dude's birthday and he's hosting a fucking cage match in DC, and it's like, bitch, be so for real. Nobody likes you. We're all waiting for the good news that we've been waiting for 10 years to hit. Like, you're evil, you're incompetent, and you're ruining the world, and you're a fucking fascist. Like, you're not winning. I'm sorry, but you're not winning. And this week we also got our first trillionaire in the world. Woohoo! Fuck Elon Musk and his trillions. With all that money, do you know how much good he could do in the world? And instead he's hoarding it and pouring it into exploding rockets trying to get to space. Like, bitch, children need food. Adults need food. There's genocides. There's starvation. There's climate catastrophes all over the place. Do you know what that money could do in places right now? Like, I don't even know how this would look, right? Because I'm not the financial mastermind, but I do know that as of a week ago, so many places in India specifically were having record breaking heat, like 118 degrees Fahrenheit. Like, that is deadly heat. And so many of their buildings aren't built for that, and they don't always have AC. And just like, what could you do with your money instead of building more data centers to make the heat worse? What could you do about making life better and like saving lives of the people who are working in the heat in 118-degree temperatures every day? Right? Like, why are we taking cleaning water, or not cleaning water, my bad, drinking water, clean drinking water to power data centers when we could be letting people, I don't know, just a thought, drink it? So there's a lot on my mind, and there's a lot going on in the world. And it's just, I feel hope. And I think things like our mayor and the Knicks winning remind me that life can be good, that humans that humanity is beautiful, that when we come together, when we stand together, we are so strong and we are so undefeated and we are simply amazing. And instead, and I'm not going to pretend that I don't know why there's division in this country, in the US. I know why there's division in the US. It's because it's a white supremacist nation and there are racists and there are misogynists and there are homophobes. That is why there is division. The division is not caused by people saying, "Hey, asshole, we deserve the right to live here." The division is caused by those who are saying that some of us don't deserve to live. And they're the same ones who turn around and cry, "Oh my God, why does everyone hate me, bitch? Because you're a hater." I keep getting lost in the rants when I'm trying to actually say something like a little hopeful, which is just that, like, things can get better. And I believe that on a macro level, in part because I've seen it on a micro level personally over the past couple months. As you know, my ketamine journey has been really helping me, but also ever since I decided to self-publish Nat and Cammy's Guide to Running an Undercover GSA, I have felt better. And I know publishing a book is not a cure. I have still had moments of depression. I have still had intrusive thoughts. I have still had suicidal ideation. But I have also felt like I was moving forward toward my future, like I was taking action, like things were going to happen for my career for the first time in 3 years. Fun fact, today is the 3-year anniversary of when I signed with / announced that I had signed with my agent Eric Smith at Neighborhood Literary. Woohoo! So yeah, literally 3 years is like, it's been a long time since I felt like I was seeing career movement and like my life was going to quote unquote start. And the truth is, my life has been started since I burst into the world 33 years ago. But it feels like it's been stalled or stagnant for a long time. And I feel movement again. And so I feel that hope. And I think we as a world have been through trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma for the past decade, but even longer when you look at the way we have treated Black people in the US, all people of color in the US, immigrants in the US, queer folks. Like, there's been progress, there's been regression, there's been progress, there's been regression. And specifically in the past 6 years, we had a global pandemic that we just sort of lived through and then didn't have time to process because we moved on to the next battle, which was vaccines and ousting Trump from his presidency the first time, and you know, wars like Ukraine and now the war with Iran, which is our own fault. Well, our own doing, the man's fault. Um, and we've just lived through punch after punch after punch after punch, societally and collectively. And I think we all got beat down. And I'm not saying things are materially getting better already, because the economy is still in shambles. People still don't have money for food, for clothes. I barely have money for food, for clothes, for my roof over my head. Whatever. We don't need to get into the minutia of my financial fuckery situation. But I guess what I'm trying to say is it feels like I can see the exit of the teeny tiny crossways tunnel that we've been slogging through for 6.5 fucking years. And I really, really hope we get there so soon. And I believe it. And I believe that community, compassion, empathy will prevail over power-hungry despots. And that's all I wanted to say about that. One more thing about me is that this is so cute. Do you see this picture right here? Weird. That's it. Why is this so hard? This was taken at Books of Wonder, which is a Manhattan kidlit bookstore on 17th Street and 6th Avenue. It is my favorite bookstore, like my number one home away from home bookstore in the city, and I get to do an event there on the day that my book comes out on June 23rd. I will be part of a YA Pride panel at Books of Wonder. So if you're in New York City, if you're in the tri-state area, if you want to be in New York City, you should definitely come on June 23rd. I would love to see you at the event. If you are in the city and you want to like get drinks with me and some friends afterward, just let me know at the event or text me or DM me. I want to fucking party, y'all. Like I really do. I wanna celebrate, and I want all my people around me, whether we are best friends, acquaintances, or like saw each other once in a bar and became friends. I just want that for us, and I want us to have the blastiest of blasts. Um but now I have really quickly, before I read my guest bio, I would love to tell you about a romance novel that I read recently and truly loved. This is a young adult romance that comes out on July 7th, 2026. And it's by one of my very own podcast guests, the one and only Jessica Lewis. Yes, indeed, I am talking about Hallie's Rules for a Recovering Romantic, which is so good. And it's a sapphic YA romance about Hallie. It's the companion novel to Nav's Foolproof Guide for Falling in Love, I think. And it follows Hallie, who's Nav's best friend, and she goes to a summer camp, study camp, basically. It's like 6 weeks of SAT prep and other various classes, and they take the SAT at the end, and there's like a point system, and you get a medal and a scholarship, and it's really, competitive to get into. And then Hallie gets there and she's like, one thing I won't be doing this summer is falling in love. And then she meets her roommate and she's like, fuck, I'm in love. And I loved this journey. I adored Hallie as a main character. I really, really, really related to her in a lot of ways. And I think that Jessica did an amazing job sort of carrying her journey and her arc through the whole book, right? Like Hallie's whole thing is that she thinks she needs to change to be good enough. Wow, I wonder why that struck a chord for me. Anyway, and so Hallie thinks she needs to change to become worthy of her friends and of her romance. And she has all these rules for how she's going to change. And it would have been one thing to have her hit the midpoint and be like, I don't actually need to change. And then she just like romps through the rest of the book. And I really appreciate on a craft level how Jessica was like, this is a mental hurdle that is real and that takes time and effort to get over. And so we're going to spend the time and the effort getting over it. And there's an amazing dog, there's chocolate themes, like it's just so good. I really, 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 really recommend you pre-order it. And if not, like if you hear this after July 7th, just go buy it at the bookstore. Like it's out there for you. And speaking of romance novels, we have today's guest. Lauren Okie is the author of 2 novels, The Best Worst Thing and the forthcoming Trope Sick. She lives in the Los Angeles area. Please, everybody, welcome Lauren Okie to Publishers Brunch. I'm here with Lauren Okie, our guest for the week. Lauren, so could you introduce yourself and your books to the listeners?
Sure. Hey, I'm Lauren Okie. I am the author of The Best Worst Thing, which came out October 25, and also Trope Sick, which releases June 16th. They're both being published by Avon Books, and they are both pretty gritty, raw love stories about a lot of things that can go wrong. The Best Worst Thing is a story about a woman in her 30s who's trying to get pregnant, finds out her husband is having an affair, and goes and falls in love with her old coworker. So sort of like a Jim and Pam meets Nobody Wants This hot mess disaster. If you love hot people screaming at each other, this is the book for you. And then also You're in Luck, hot people screaming at each other is my passion. It also occurs in my sophomore novel, Tropesick, which is about an all grown up girl next door and her dead brother's best friend, and now 9 years sober literary fiction author who are forced to ghostwrite a romance novel in forced proximity in the Hamptons until all of the tropes they are writing into their manuscript start to come true, and they start to ask a lot of questions about the reclusive author hosting them for the summer. So this one also takes on some like big, dark, gritty
Mm-hmm.
themes and sort of plunks them into the safety of a romance novel so we can explore
Mm-hmm.
all of the things that hurt while having a really good time. Yeah,
Oh, I
yes.
love the way you phrase that, and I love the concept of books that are romance, but they're like a safe space to discuss hard things. Um, that's actually, I'm gonna like file that away the way you said that, because I think that's what I like to do in my books is like it's a romance, but there are really hard things, but it's still a romance, so it's still like safe and comforting and warm, but you can tackle things like grief or things like, in my books it's like homophobic bullying, so it's like
Hmm.
you can tackle the things that people are dealing with, but in a very loving kind of way.
Right. Or at least like with the promise that like,
Yes, that's
hey,
gonna
no
be.
matter how dark this gets, like we have this covenant and you're going to get this one
Hmm.
thing, which is like they're not
Yeah.
going to be alone at the end, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a light at the end of the tunnel, there is a way through kind of thing, like
Right. Yeah.
they're not on their own. I love that. I think, not to just start like getting on soapboxes 3 minutes into the
No, let's
recording,
do
but
it.
like
Let's, I'm
I just
fun.
think romance is so special.
It's so special and it's so broad. I actually wrote a Substack about this yesterday because I'd been tagged in a
Hmm.
bunch of like mental health awareness month posts because
Okay.
like broken people are my
Hmm.
passion, like
Hmm.
many of us, and I was like, oh, why do I do this, and I kind of was like asking the
Mm.
question, turning it over, and a lot of it is what we just talked about, which is like
Hmm.
um there's really no better place to like sort of explore the human experience than in a love story. People are
Hmm.
so inherently vulnerable when they're falling in
Yes.
love. Like we are cutting them open, we are learning what makes them tick. Like we are really inspecting the wounds and watching those wounds sort of like grate against their soulmates, right?
Yeah.
And like seeing what comes out, and it's very very satisfying, to like have your heart break on the page and then have it stitched back together. And
Hmm.
romance offers that, and it's like so many of the books that I love that are not romance, like I am so connected to them because they make me feel so deeply, but then I'm like
Hmm.
sad.
Yes.
Like then I'm
And
like
yes.
sad for a week, and like then my husband is like, why are you on the floor? And I'm like, the book. And he's like, I cannot.
It's
Like
like we can't do this again.
no, no, not the fiction, and it's so one of those things where it's like, but I really want to feel
Hmm.
all of that. I just,
Hmm.
and so it's like you write the books that you wish to read, and the books that
Yes.
energize you, right? And it's, for
Yes.
me, it's like, because it's years and years and years, as you know.
Hmm.
And so to me, I really gravitate towards books that like don't shy away from the mess of life, but still give me like the joy and the sexiness of a romance novel.
Yes.
Yeah.
As you were talking, I was thinking of two books and like moments that I had, two romances, one of which was when I read Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Towards the end, I was crying so hard because I just felt so like related to the characters. So I was like sitting in my bed, like reading the book, just like absolutely bawling. And my roommate like stops in my doorway and she was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, it's the book," and she goes, "Oh my god, no!" She like
Yeah,
walked
yeah.
away.
The
So
people
like
who are
been
like
there.
not in the book world are like, I know.
They're like,
No.
I don't understand, like, what's
Yeah.
happening. But I also recently read. Have you read any Cat Sebastian books?
Yes, I've read
Okay.
You Should Be So Lucky, the blue one.
Yes. Oh my god, that's
Yes.
such a good one.
Hmm.
I read After Hours at Dooryard Books, which was her indie release from last year, and it's set in 1968 New York, so it's like very of a. It's like very companionable to You Should Be So Lucky.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and I just found myself feeling like it was such a like a tender book for the characters and for me even, where it was like we're gonna tackle like the world is so shitty, and it was shitty in 1968, it's shitty in 2026. Like, we're going to tackle that, but it's going to be in a very like loving manner. You're going to feel very held by it, and
Yeah.
you're going to watch these characters like fall in love and find like healing within each other and within their
Yes. Yes,
community.
yes, yes.
Oh, it was
So good. Okay,
beautiful.
so are you in the Noah Khan bandwagon?
Oh my god, yeah. I
Okay,
love
so
Noah
he
Khan.
said this thing the other day, like that I saw a clip of from Spotify, and he's like, sad music doesn't make me feel sad, it makes me feel connected. And I was like, okay, on the tombstone, on the tombstone. Like
Right.
when we put like the hard stuff on paper,
Mm-hmm.
like it's like the opposite of isolating, you know? And it's like you either relate to it and you feel seen, or you like are working on like building this more empathetic
Mm-hmm.
like soul, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that like that's such a win-win. And I think it's done so. I've learned so much from so many books and so many genres,
Mm-hmm.
but in romance in particular, it's done with like a certain level of trust, I
Yeah.
think, between reader and author.
Mm-hmm.
That like no matter what we break, like there's going to be, like we said, like that one thing intact. And I think it's so special. And I think that like music like this has always been around. Like I'm so
Mm-hmm.
shaped as an artist, I guess, by like the music that I consumed when I
Mm-hmm.
was like 10. And but I think that it is like to see someone like Noah Kahan, like who is such a sad man, and there is so much joy in his music, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that it is really connected to what we're talking about right now, which is like
Mm-hmm.
that, like people who have felt isolated for so long, there's a lot of joy in like seeing yourself or like an anecdote that feels
Mm-hmm.
universal to you, that can
Yes.
sort of like pull you out of the pain. And it's like, oh, like you can make magic out of these like feelings, like this is what it
Mm-hmm.
feels like to be alive. And like I really want that in the books that I read, and so I
Mm-hmm.
really want them in the books that I write. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. The first book that I read where I saw like a similar mental health experience to my own was a young adult by Emery Lord called When We Collided. And I read it in 2016 and I was like, "Oh, you can do this with books. Like you can put like the really bad days into a book
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and someone is going to read it and be like, "Oh, wow." And so that's what I strive to do with my books is like with all of my like the mental health rap or like queer identity or like deconstructing religion, like all the stuff that in my life has been big pillars of experiences. I try to put it in my books so that people can feel seen, build empathy, or like just get hope to like if I continue going, like there's a light at the end of the tunnel again. Like
Right.
there's
And that's like
a
so
reason.
big. And I feel like, and I don't write YA, and I've not,
Hmm.
full disclosure, I've not read that much. I've read
Hmm.
some. I've read a lot of like Katie Coutinho, who I
Oh
adore,
yeah.
because I went in through her adult romances. But
Okay.
I feel so like, just as I'm a parent, like, and I feel that so deeply, which is like adults
Hmm.
have like a responsibility to tell teenagers to hang on, because we know. Do
Yes.
you know what I mean? And I'm like, that
Hmm.
is such like, to me, I'm like, I'm talking about being on a soapbox. I'm like, as someone who doesn't read or write YA, I think YA, but I think that it's true as a human. Like
Hmm.
that is
Hmm.
sort of our promise to like to 16-year-olds
Yeah.
or 15-year-olds, right? With like the bullying or the queer identity,
Hmm.
like whatever, just being like, hey, like
Hold
here you
on.
are. Yeah, like time,
Yeah.
like it will get better, and I think that
Hmm.
like that is something that's like so important in our
Yeah.
books. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if I'd been reading like modern day like YA when I was in high school, it would have really soothed my very sad soul. Because I was convinced that I was like the worst thing to ever happen to my friends and my loved ones, that like I should remove myself from the picture. And like if I'd read a book where someone felt that way and then came out of it, or even just like was shown love and was able to continue living through it, like I think that would have been mind blowing.
Right.
Like, can't
Right.
even
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah. And
So.
I think, like, especially, like, because when we're teenagers, right? And it's just like the drama, and it's like these feelings are so big and they're so real. And they are, like, and they
Hmm.
really are, and they are real. And I think I read something once about how, like, some of like like YA books and these new adult books, and it's like, oh, like this literature that gives agency to people and their massive feelings, right? It's like maybe we should
Mm-hmm.
have listened to Romeo and Juliet when they're like, we love each other, right? And it's like everyone's like, no, you don't, no, you don't. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, like actually, in like in the old ages, like they were a child, like they were ready to like have a family. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And
Oh
it's
God,
which isn't
yeah.
to say that like they really were, but it's just like, oh, like the brain and the heart, like the feelings are
Mm-hmm.
massive, right? And I think that it's
Mm-hmm.
like giving people space on the page to feel that deeply and have them be heard is like another thing that's just like
Mm-hmm.
huge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have we gotten so off track? Have
No,
we,
I mean,
okay.
there is no on track really. It's
Okay.
all just like this is my favorite way to start the podcast because it's like I asked a simple question and we just like talked
We're
for
just going.
10 minutes
Yeah.
and like got really like beautiful things were said and so I love that.
Awesome.
Um my next question I would love to know, and we've sort of already touched on like heartfelt things, but like how are you doing? How is today treating you? How is this week treating you? Like I the world is what it is. It's awful and
Hmm.
that's just like the like cloud that looms over everything. And my task for myself lately has been like find little pockets of joy despite it and like reasons to like laugh or love or you know,
Yeah.
live laugh
Yeah.
love.
Yes. Live, laugh, love. Everything is good. My husband had surgery a couple days ago, so it's been like kind of an
Right.
unusual week at the house where I'm just like
Yeah.
doing more and but everything is good. It's beautiful out. Like we're getting
Love
like I'm in LA, but it's like really sunny and kind of warm and like it's just been very good weather the past couple of
that.
days.
Amazing.
Yeah, so that is all going nicely. And
Mhm.
then of course like internally, this book comes out, we're early.
Mhm.
We'll reveal the veil, right? So like the book comes out soon and but it's my second and I feel like a little bit it's like I remember when my debut came out and it's like I couldn't sleep. Like I couldn't sleep
Right.
like for months. I was just up and now I'm just like conked out like a baby. And I think it's like this I think like the skin has thickened, right? And I think that's part of
Mhm.
it. But I'm also just like we go, right? Like it's
Mhm.
just like, oh, like you just show up authentically and we go. And I think I'm feeling really good right now
Mhm.
about that attitude.
That's awesome.
And just yeah, like I'm like, oh, like a lot has changed in the like us here where I really feel like I'm not trying to like speed up or slow down time. I'm just kind of rolling.
Mm.
And that's not something that like comes super naturally to me. And I'm
Mhm.
feeling pleased about it. Yeah.
That's awesome. I am my book comes out I think the week after yours, June 23,
Yes.
and it is my first book. So I'm in the
Like
like
you're like
every
not
night I go to bed and I'm
sleeping.
like "Ah!"
Right. And then where are you
um
based? Are you on the
I'm
West
in New York
Coast or
City.
Oh, okay, at least that's good.
Yeah.
Because part of
Yeah.
my issue was waking up in California and being like the workday is like already in session. So like my brain
Yeah.
was starting to like kind of pop early. And
Oh
then my book
no.
sold, like when my book started selling in Europe, it was like even worse because
Mm.
I'm like, business is being
That
conducted at like 2 a.m. in
oh
California.
no.
Yeah. So now I'm like, I got the brick. You can put
Mhm.
the
Oh,
like,
the
but it's one of
brick.
those, and it's
Yes.
like the brick goes downstairs and it's just like the phone is just off until 7.
Mhm.
Um, and that helps,
Mhm.
but it's just like, oh, like, this idea that like I think so much with like the debut year is like you're just kind of every morning you wake up and you're just like waiting for your life to change and like that information would come through the little screen and so you're just like little
Exactly.
screen and I think but like the good stuff is happening off screen and it's like hard work
Mhm.
to pull
Yeah.
away. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that I'm also on sub with a different book, an adult romance, and that's why every day I wake up and I'm like, this
Oh
could be
yeah.
the day
This could be the
that my
day.
life changes, and then it never is, and I'm like, well,
But do you feel okay? So I remember I was in Hawaii at one point when I was querying,
mhm,
and when I was looking for an agent, and there was something at like noon. It was over.
mm, oh
Like in
wow,
Hawaii, because it's
yeah,
6 hours behind. And there was something kind of really nice about being like, okay, if my life doesn't change
that's
before
amazing.
lunch,
Yeah.
Like
I
then
stop
I'm just
worrying.
me. Like this sort of, and I think that like the goal is like it, and I was talking to someone else about this a few weeks ago, and it's like,
Hmm.
okay, writing a book the way that we want to write our books requires almost like translucent skin, no skin. And then being like the brand of book requires like the thickest skin
Yes.
ever, right? To keep making your art sort
Hmm.
of like without being um like without like fear of perception or without sort
Hmm.
of just like knee jerk changing what you do to like write to market. And then it's like it requires almost this like light switch, like Hannah
Yeah.
Montana like energy,
Right.
that like this muscle that I'm working on of being like, oh, like you want to save all of the things that make you authentic and special and interesting, because like that's the voice that got you here.
Hmm.
And at the same time, like you need to be a professional, and like and
Hmm.
you need to be kind even when other people upset you. Like we're just, you know what I mean? And it's like,
Hmm.
and learning how to do that. But I think that it's like, I think that it is like important. I think that is like really good work, and I knew it was good work to do like external facing, like, but what I
Hmm.
didn't realize is that it would also benefit me like as a human,
Right.
like, right, like
Yeah.
as like a partner and a friend
Hmm.
and like
Hmm.
someone who goes to Trader Joe's, right, to just be like, like
Yes.
to just be like to learn how to like toggle in and out of this
Hmm.
job that's like the closest I can think of is like real estate. Like, where I'm just like, where like you were just kind of always it is weird for your job to also be your hobby, and like lines
Yes. And you're like
blur and
always on.
nights and weekends disappear, like your readers are always consuming, so does that mean that you're always like
Receiving.
available? Like I don't
Yeah.
know, like what is that balance? But I think that like the better I get at being
Hmm.
two things at once, like the more solid I
Yeah.
feel, right? Like kind of like just like I want to like, suck up all of the joy of like of this time. But I also don't want it to consume my entire
Mm.
life, because
Hmm.
I want to keep having these experiences. One, because I'm a human, and two, because I mine those experiences for art. So
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to stay open to the experiences of life and also to the like positive stuff while sort of almost like closing yourself off to the negative. Like you're saying like translucent skin versus thick skin,
Right.
and it's just kind of like switching on a dime. And I've never been good at holding two truths at once. Thankfully my therapist and I are actively working on that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think that's a similar case where it's like I have to be both. I have to let everything out and let very little in almost.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Or like you need a group chat. And
Right.
it's like one of those
Always a group
things,
chat.
right? And I mean, and I think it's like it is when we think about publishing, I think it's like I mean, we all wanted to be writers when we were kids, right? And it's like, but
Yeah.
you don't actually have an understanding
Not even a
of
little.
publishing, right? So it's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, like the dream was to have a book in a bookstore,
Mhm.
right? And like I remember when I sold my first book, and I was like, what about the second? Like my dream
Right.
did not account for like success. My dream was like success is the book on the bookshelf, right? Like
Mhm.
that's what the 7-year-old in you thinks.
Mhm.
And then you're like, oh, it's really, really, really nuanced, like the definition of success. This is like a whole legitimate commercial billion-dollar business. Like it is not a book on a bookshelf. Like there are a zillion factors at
Mhm.
play, most of which we cannot control. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
think um separating business from art is like a thing that we have to learn on the fly. But like I think that like I've gotten so much joy out of like the commercial validation that has come with
Yes.
publishing, but it like it sort of has nothing to do with like the way it feels to write like in the middle of the
Mhm.
night, like when you can't, like they are actually really separate, like
Yeah.
really, really like separate jobs, I think, like the
Yes.
creation and the sale. And I'm just like trying to keep them as
Mhm.
separate as I can, because like the art is sacred and the business is my agent's job. And then like
Yeah.
somewhere in the middle is like
The
the
happy
author,
medium
the
or
brand. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah, that's so true. Um, it's a tricky balance. Yeah. Fortunately or unfortunately, I was never very good at balance physically, but I'm getting better emotionally.
oh yeah,
So,
I'm horrible at it. This is just like this week it's working, and I'm like, yeah. And then next week, I'm sure I'll be like, haven't slept in days, like something, something, something. But I think for
yeah.
now, I'm just like letting it kind of all
Hmm.
happen, and it feels nice. It
Yeah.
feels really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet it does.
Yes. But yeah.
um, okay, my next question. What is, and I can explain the like rationale for this question if it feels too vague or something, but it's like, what is the best anecdote or story that you have heard or witnessed lately? Whether that's something that you saw on TV or read in a book that you would like to just like share a story, or something you witnessed out in the world, or something that happened to you personally.
I might need some more context. Do you have any?
So the context was, I was thinking I might need to find a better way to frame this question, but it's basically like the type of story where like you're sitting at the cafe and there's like a first date happening right next to you, and it's really awkward or it's really sweet or it's really cute or something. That kind of story is like mining the happenings around us to like
Hmm.
relate back what happened.
Hmm.
And
Why don't you
I've
go
had people
first? Why don't
share,
you go first?
yeah,
You're gonna,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so yesterday I was out at a bar with some friends. We normally go to one specific bar, but we were protesting yesterday, so we went to a different one. And halfway through, we were a couple frosés in, so there was a lot of like we were getting very happy. And one of our friends always asks the questions like, does anyone have any secrets? And they started they just like started talking to people at the different table next to us that we'd never seen before, and were like sharing secrets with each other. And I wish I had heard what the secrets were,
Hmm.
but I didn't. But it was just like a very beautiful, there's something about when I go to a bar and I'm sitting with people, whether I know them or not, and you suddenly find this sort of like camaraderie with the people
Yes.
around you,
Okay.
and you're like, oh, we're all out. It's like 9 p.m. It's a random Tuesday. Like, we're all in this space. Let's just like be friends. And you're never gonna see them again, probably. It's, you didn't even share like a heart to heart. You just had this moment of like human connection of like, wow, we're in this together. Kind of like the idea of like when you're like the meme of like girls in a bathroom at a bar and they're like
Yes. Uh
drunk and they're
huh.
like, you're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in the world. And then you know nothing about them. But you just
Yeah.
have this moment of like, we're best friends. Okay, bye.
Yeah. No, no, no. No, I get it. I don't know. Do I have one? I'm trying to think of like, I'm like, what has happened in the past few days that I think is like
Yeah.
anecdotally interesting, but I'm unfortunately I'm drawing a blank, which I know is like a horrible answer.
Oh no, it's fine.
Um, but I feel like it's probably something that like my kid did, which is like
Oh.
hilarious. But then I'm like, no, what I
Yeah.
can't even remember. Um,
Yeah. That's okay.
yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I
No,
know. I
don't
always like
be.
want to have an answer. I want to be like not a bad improv. Speaking of improv, wait, have you read Into the Blue yet?
No, but I want to. I keep
Okay,
hearing
yeah,
amazing
yeah.
things about it.
I'm like, I probably can't think of an answer because my brain is just still consumed
Buy Into
with
the
this
Blue.
book. Like, I still am in that book. I finished it 2 weeks ago, and I am like,
Whoa.
yeah, and I'm still like, I'm still there. I'm still, as the kids, the youth say, I'm still at the restaurant.
Right.
Yes, where it's
Oh,
just
that's
like
amazing.
and I think it might, and I know everyone loves it, but I think that romance writers in particular
Hmm.
will love it because the first 100 pages of the book are about like they're improv partners and they're being trained to be
Hmm.
improv partners together and finish each other's sentences, and
Oh,
it is like
perfect.
soulmate writing boot camp, like where they are kind of like developing that invisible string between collaborators where they're like learning to finish
Hmm.
each other's sentences and communicate with their eyes and like say the same word and mean different things and like sort of like kind of like get that like kinesis, and it just like
Yeah.
sort of was a level of I've read all sorts of sort of mind-blowing intimacy, but I had never read about that sort of intimacy. And so like by the time they are actually physically intimate, you're like, because they are like you have seen on page. You weren't told, you
Mhm.
were shown, like you watch them build that
Mhm.
collaborative connection, and it is just sort of
Oh,
like you are
nice.
just sort of like whipped around by it for and the book is
Yeah.
long, so you're just like in it, and then
Mhm.
yeah, and so I feel like all of my anecdotal everything that I have processed over the past 2 weeks is like not there's no space because I only think about that book. Yeah.
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 I mean, I think that's totally fair. Sometimes books are just they consume you.
So,
I mean,
and
I
you know
have
when you like read a book, you're like, this book was written for me
yes.
personally. Yeah.
Yes.
And then every once in a while, like every like 300 pages, something would be like one sentence will not be for you personally. And you're like, what?
You're like, wait a
Like,
second.
what?
Why would you put
But
that in there?
yeah, and it's just like a word. And I'm like, what? I don't know that word, huh? Like, this is my book. But it just, oh my God, just exactly what I want in like a love story.
Amazing.
So yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. I really want to get to it. I need to prioritize it as soon as I like have a copy in my
Yes,
possession.
yes.
Because my issue with books is I buy them and then I put them on my TBR, and my TBR is like 100 books long, and there's 6 different lists, and it's so hard.
The TBR, like the TBRs are really. I don't have one,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that that just reduces my mental load. I'm like, I can't have a TBR because I have a 7-year-old, and there's
Oh
only
yeah.
there's only so much that I can feel ashamed of, and so a part of me is just like, so I think my TBR is like the books that I'm blurbing,
Oh nice.
and
Yeah.
then I try to read my friends' books,
Of
and
course.
then I have a book club, so people are just telling me what to read.
Fun.
Yeah, so I just have
Yeah.
no agency, I think. It's my TBR. And then about once a month I will just pick something at kind of like just a true
Like a
mood read.
mood.
And I
Yeah.
think because I think the truth is I know a lot of people love a TBR, but for me, like pre-publishing, I was a mood reader. I didn't work off a list.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever book had my attention that week was the book I got read, and that includes buying books and never reading them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that is like part
Yeah.
of the deal. But I'm a very
Mm-hmm.
intuitive writer. I don't outline, and so I'm like, I guess that's just
Mm-hmm.
chaos
Mm-hmm.
in all of my consumption. So it's just like, what am
Yeah.
I want today? And but I feel like for me the best, and I know that I miss out on books like this. Like the point of a TBR is that like if 90 of your friends have recommended something, but to me, I'm also like, what is meant for you will not pass you by.
Mm-hmm.
So
There's
like
a
my
magic.
hope, yeah, my hope is
Yeah.
that like if a book truly isn't is a book for me that it will get recommended to me again. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think this is just the only way that I can. There's a meme I saw that's like it's like, oh, as somebody who wants to read all the books, um, like every time I read a book, it's like, okay, one down.
Right. No,
And yeah,
literally.
yeah. And so
Literally.
I'm like, it is not a winning proposition, truly, a TBR. Like it can never be done. So part of me is
Can
just like,
never
I don't
finish
want to be
it.
bad at anything else.
No, that's so fair. I like a list. My brain loves a list. And I read like 4 to 6 books at a time. And so I just like have lists of like in order. And then if I get to one that's like up next and I'm like, I don't feel like this, I'll just like switch things around. But it's very much
Yes,
like it gives me a sense of control in a world that I cannot control.
I get that. I get
And
that.
that
And
soothes me.
but do you feel like TBRs also like? I also like I don't know. I feel like mood reading for me is the antidote to a book slump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Because it's like when you pick the
Yeah.
book that you are prepared for. But then, yeah, sometimes I do get around to a book that I've been like recommended 90 times, and I'm like, what was I doing? Like,
You're
I
like,
needed to have
yeah.
read this 3 years ago. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
also there is like that's that like alchemy, that magic in the air of like you could have read it 3 years ago, but maybe you need it now, or you need it in 2 weeks. You need it to be like fresh.
Isn't that happen? Like, I feel like that happens when I'm like having writer's block, and I'm like, I'm gonna go on this walk, and then I have this experience that like answers
And that's perfect. Yeah.
right, or it's like,
Yeah.
I had like a little mini crash out in December where I was like working on a draft, and I just had not taken enough time away from drafting like for
Mm.
a really long time, and so the
Mhm.
words were getting out, but like I just was like not having fun,
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm going to take a couple of days. And then a couple
Mhm.
of days turned into a few weeks because I sort of realized it takes me a while to like warm up, like when I
Yeah.
leave a story. And so I usually don't leave once I'm in. But there's nothing harder
Mm.
than like being out for 2 weeks and then in for 100 words. And then I'm like, just be out if you're out and
Like,
just be in if you're
yes.
in for me. And so
Mhm.
I like, and then like it was going into holidays and New Year's and I was going on vacation with my family. And I was like, you know what? We're just
Mhm.
taking the rest of the year off and
Yeah.
I will just preserve this energy and I'm going to like on January 2nd, I'm just going to be a crazy person and we're going to nail this book. And it worked, I think. But like during that time, I had so many, like once I was out of drafting mode, I like, you're just like kind of always harvesting. And even like I was writing a book about an only child and my daughter's an only, and we went and did some things. And I just was
Mm.
like, kind of just watching. And it's just like, oh, you were just picking up like this, like evident, like this life, like little, like you're just living. And it's what we talked about. It's like, oh, was like getting offline. And it's
Mhm.
like, oh, the work that it's actually like a really dynamic process of like bringing the outside world to the page,
Mhm.
which is like so much of this modern publishing job happens on screen, but life is
Yeah.
still outside, you know, and like you have to go
Yes.
fill the well to keep writing.
Mhm.
Like most of our characters are not. I mean, I've not yet written a character who is like chronically online with a screen addiction because like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like we all know like the pandemic book like that stuff doesn't hit. People don't want to read about the truth.
Mhm.
you know?
No, they don't. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like one of those but I think that it's one of those things where it's like um I like there's a lot out there to feel and experience and and that work happens.
Mhm.
No, it happens outside of the
Yeah.
office.
Yeah. I think there's also a hunger I've seen, especially among like Gen Z and Gen Alpha, if I know any of them, but like there's a hunger to sort of go back to less screen, to sort of
Right?
like, and I do think it's because like for me, as I see it in my life, it's like we're building up more screen, more screen, more screen. Pandemic hits all screen all the time. Never leave
Mm-hmm.
the house. I'm terrified to leave the house. It lasts for like 3 years after. And then I hit a point where I'm like, I've got to be in the world. I got to put the phone away. I like put on do not disturb. I never take it off. Like
Oh yeah, I don't
I
ever want to hear
just
my phone ring.
right? No, it's terrifying sound.
Yeah.
I like I want to be in the world. I want to be like putting my phone away and swimming in the water in the ocean, and then I come back and it's like, whoa, like people message me, but I wasn't just waiting around for it.
Yeah, it's hard.
Which,
It is hard. It's hard,
yeah.
and I find that the best thing I can do is use it less early in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
once your brain is like,
Oh, phone.
like
Yeah,
once you've been fed like the blue screen, like it's over. You know
it's
what I mean? You're like,
over.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah. So, and I think to me, the big thing is like phone in the other room and
Mm-hmm.
engrossed in the task has been very, very
Mm-hmm.
helpful. So I find
Yeah.
that the busier I am, that the easier it is to stay
Yeah.
away. So it's like
Oh, for
actually,
sure.
yeah, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get so much done because I'm between drafts right now, and I was like, this is
Yeah.
gonna be like I'm gonna do, and it's like, oh my God, I'm getting less done than when I was like working 100 hours a week because I'm just like, right, like
Scrolling.
yeah,
Yeah.
scrolling,
That's
yeah,
where the
the
brick
brick.
comes in so handy. I wanted to hate the brick at first. I was like, I don't need that. It helps. It really helps.
The brick when you're outside of the home is next level.
Oh, wow.
That is
I'm
when
too
like
scared to do that.
I was an hour away from my house the other day and I found myself on it too much, so I bricked it and then I
Oh,
had the whole
nice.
afternoon and it's like peace, peace. Because it's like, you know, when my life changes, it's not going to come through
It's not
Instagram.
going to come through Instagram or anything. It's going to be a
Yeah.
phone call.
It's gonna be a phone call. Yeah. And so it's one of
Yeah.
those things, and like you almost have to tell you're like there is some exposure therapy to be done, you know.
Mhm.
So not by me, by someone else, I think,
By
you
someone
know.
else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um Let's ask, is there a good and or a hard moment that you have experienced along your publishing journey that you would like to share? And you can do like a really great moment, you can do a harder moment, or you can do both.
Yeah.
Um,
I think like I don't know if I've had like a moment where I'm like, oh, like this is hard, this is impossible. Like I've had like a really lovely like I got
Mm-hmm.
very lucky in that my book was acquired by an editor who like whom I just like adore and
Oh,
trust,
good.
and that
Yeah.
has sort of like cradled this process for
Mm-hmm.
me because like we said, like the business is half art half business,
Mm-hmm.
and it really started in a place of art for me, and I
Yes.
think that was a really nice place to begin. You know, it's like we went
Yeah.
in and like we edited the book with like my debut, this guy like with so much care, and I was just like, okay, like this is about,
Yeah.
and I think that really like kind of set me up to being like, okay, like my book was sort of like there was so much like energy and respect for the creative process, and so like that has sort of remained intact for me, and I
It's
know that that is
great.
like a really a treat. And so it's like
Yeah.
most of the highs and lows that I have experienced, most of the lows have been sort of like self right, of being like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like I'm like I was very very anxious for an extended period of time, and most of that came from querying and sub, and then I was sort of not
Yes.
able to shake
Mm-hmm.
like the right, where it's like I was like having trouble eating, like because it's like I like wasn't getting a thrill from food anymore. I was getting a thrill from like things
The
happening in my
creating.
career. And then I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, and like that, you know, like that sort of stuff. And I feel much more balanced now. And
Mm-hmm.
so like I feel like a lot of those lows don't happen anymore because I'm not having these sort of like big feelings so much. I feel much more like balanced and centered.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in terms of high, I Tropesic got library reads last week, and I was so excited. Like it was such
Yeah.
a pinch me moment. Like I really struggled in school as a child, and I shared about this in a video I made for Harper. And it's like I
Mm-hmm.
had really like pretty severe ADHD. Like I was not able to stay in my seat. It was like the 90s. Like the classes were not
Mm.
designed for like neurodivergent kids. They're like sit the hell
Mm-mm.
down. Like I couldn't do the work. I couldn't do my homework. Like I had to go to reading and writing tutoring
Mm-hmm.
classes like in this
Mm-hmm.
weird little hut. It was like very
Oh
embarrassing.
no.
Yeah, and like and I knew I was smart. But like
Mm-hmm.
but everything around me was like no you're not, you know, and
Mm.
but I felt like so like my imagination was just wild. And my mom used to take me to the library on Saturday mornings, and I was very close with this librarian because like she was dating someone we knew's son. Like we knew her in some
Yeah.
capacity, and so she was like charmed by me. I was charmed by her, and we got to know her very well. And she would pull a book for me every week, and I would go to story hour. And the books that she would pull were not always like chapter books. They were often books like how to make a puppet. Right, like they were
Oh.
these, like they were the kind of like
Yeah.
the how-to books that they have at libraries. Because I didn't
Yeah.
always have it in me to read either. Like the reading, like
Mm-hmm.
I was a good reader, but like I had trouble sitting still. I wanted to make,
Yeah.
and so a lot of that like is like, oh, that was sort of like my schooling. Not that I didn't like pick anything up in school because like I obviously it got figured out eventually, you know.
Yeah.
But like so much of me was shaped by this like non-traditional learning of like, well, I was
Mm-hmm.
memorizing Counting Crows lyrics and playing The Sims, you know. And it's like that sounds wild, but like that is storytelling. Like if you're playing The
Mm-hmm.
Sims and reading depressing lyrics, like you are
Absolutely.
getting a renaissance education actually, you know. I'm like I'm an architect, I'm a psychiatrist. I am a
You're
financial planner.
so many
I'm
things
I'm
in The
a
Sims.
I'm a thief abusing the Rosebud cheat code, you know, and like I'm absorbing this music and I'm just like, but I'm like creating and having these feelings. And so like so
Mm-hmm.
much of that comes from like being a person who went to the library and finally felt like my brain could do
Mm-hmm.
its thing, right? And
Yeah.
someone was meeting me where I was at. And so when I found out about library reads, I was like, my mom's no longer living. And it's like a whole like just like big feelings. But I'm like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, it is such an honor to reach these people who mean so much to me, and then like to
Mm-hmm.
kind of reach them at scale, and for them to
Yeah.
be like 30 years later to be like we still get you, you know. It was like really really cool. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that. I
Yes.
love I hate that the like actual education system not set up for any kind of like neurodivergent brain or anything, but I'm so happy that you had that librarian who was able to like see you and know how to like
Yeah.
engage you, right? Because I
Yes,
think that's
yes, yes,
so often
yes.
what we just want someone to engage us, especially when we're kids. We're like, we don't know what's going on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
We just
yeah.
need
And it's
someone to
just
see us and like meet us where we are and not look at us like we're stupid.
right, yeah. And I think it was like one of those things where it's just like, you know, it's just special. Like it's just
Yeah.
and like making a kid feel special. I had another, and
Mm-hmm.
I went and saw my high school, my AP English teacher. But I remember
Mm-hmm.
once, like by then I was doing pretty well in school and
Mm-hmm.
like 11th grade, and I remember I wrote an essay or something. She gave me a B on it, and honestly, it was like an A. Like it was
Yeah.
good work, and I was like,
Yeah.
hey, like why? Why not an
What's
A, right?
yeah.
And I was like, this is as good as anyone else's, you know? And she's like,
Yeah.
yeah, well, you're better.
Ooh.
She's like, I hear the way you analyze the text in class, and like this is below you're punching below your weight here, you know? And I remember being
Whoa.
furious because I'm like, I'm
Of
trying to get into
course.
Brown, woman, you know? Like,
Some of us have
you know,
like goals here.
right? But it's like, oh, like after being somebody who because it's like when we talk about holding two truths at once, and it's like, well, how
Mm-hmm.
can this be that I have like this almost like magic skill when it comes to book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I were a sim, my book would be like 10, my points, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
but I'm still holding this other truth that I'm stupid because of my experiences as a child. Like how
Mm-hmm.
can I be good at book if I had to go to book tutor hut,
Yeah.
like which is it? And so that was like one of those moments where like yeah, I got the B in the class, we never got into
Mm-hmm.
Brown, like none of those things happened, right? Like none of that. And like I don't think that's the reason why. There are other reasons for another podcast, but 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 I think it's like, but that matters so much less than like someone raising the bar for you personally, which is like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, like you don't want an A in AP English. You want to be a published novelist. Like,
Mm-hmm.
which, like at the end, like, right, like long
What is
term,
the
that's
real
like for
goal for
someone who
you?
is like actually shaping minds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, what you want to see is like, if when you see talent, like you want to shepherd it. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that, like, now that I'm in my 30s, like, I went when I was home and I brought her a copy of my book and I told her about this story. And then she told, like, all of the parents
Oh.
at like parents night because it was like around the
Cute.
same time, and I was like, oh my god, I just got so many students like F's because now every time she gives a student a bad grade, she'll be like, well, Lauren Okie wrote a book.
So I don't know, man.
So here's,
Worked for
yeah,
her.
worked for her. But I think that like that is, and this all go like our full circle moment. Like this goes back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna pop my brunch here.
Oh,
This goes
nice.
back to my like our YA discussion of being like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, like adults do have a responsibility to teenagers to kind of like
Yes.
carry the message of like
Mm-hmm.
your perspective is valid,
Mm-hmm.
and also like I promise this is going to serve you. Like I promise it's going to be
Yes.
okay, And
Mm-hmm.
it's like I like those like I was like devastated to just like not be, you know what I mean? Like just
Mm-hmm.
smug about it. Like I'm entitled to that. And it's like, no, like you're on this earth to be an artiste, actually. you
Right.
know? Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
Oh,
someone saw it before I did. And right,
yeah.
which like what she was really doing there was like trying to get more out of me.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I can
Oh,
write an A. Of course, I can write an 11th grade English
mm-hmm.
paper like
Yeah.
with my eyes
Right.
closed, but she didn't want me to do it with my eyes closed.
She
Yeah.
wanted you to like dig deep and
Dig
like,
deeper. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Oh, wow. I'm so glad you like saw her again and were able to
yeah,
tell
it
her
was
that
lovely. Oh my God.
story.
And she hasn't aged at all. So I'm like, obviously
Oh,
there's some sort of, but
English
but I'm
teacher's
also like,
magic.
I was like, oh my God, she might only be like 50. Like your head, like when you're young and you
Mm-hmm.
cannot, I'm like, I like thought she was 50 then. And it's like, no, she was
Yep.
probably like 26.
Yeah, I think
You know
that
what
about
I
my AP
mean?
English
Like,
teacher because she had like white hair. So I was like, oh my God, she's like 60. She still teaches at the school 15 years later. So
yeah,
she obviously
yeah,
wasn't 60.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's my high. That's my long answer. Yeah.
No, I loved that. Thank you for sharing. we are going to do my favorite question, which is the soapbox question. As though we haven't been on soapboxes this whole
I've been
time.
on like at least 8 of them.
I'm
They just,
same.
they're like, we're giving you a bulk discount for being so
Yeah.
sanctimonious.
I used to phrase this as like pretend you're in like Victorian London and you're just like walking around and someone's like, here's a box of soap, get on it, and you have a megaphone. Like, what do the masses need to know?
What do the masses need to know?
What do the masses need to know? It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be publishing related. It can just be something that you like care a lot about and you're like,
Okay,
for
I
me,
want to.
yeah.
Okay, here's my soapbox.
Yeah.
I like love unlikable
Okay.
characters. Okay, I know this is not like
Yeah.
a hot take. I know that like a lot of authors feel this way, but
Yeah,
it's
but
just like
still.
I just want to write about people who are interesting. I was doing a book club last night, and there is a much hated character in this book, and it is Nicole's
Okay.
husband, who is a lying
Okay.
cheater. And he,
Yes.
not a spoiler, it's on the back.
Mhm.
He's boning the dog walker. Like he's no bueno. He's not good. And I was talking last night at the book club about how much I adored Gabe. And someone was like, how could you love
How could you?
Gabe? And I was like, well, you know how they say that like we're all children of God or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, when you write a novel, you are God. So
Right.
Gabe is a child of me, Lauren Ogie. and
Mhm.
and so I love him because he is made out of my spare parts,
Mhm.
right? Like even if he
Mhm.
is the worst, and he is the worst, but
Mhm.
but I think it's the thing, but it's like, but I think that as a result, like as we learn more about him in this book, like he's not the worst because I was like, I'm going to make a man that's the worst. He's the worst because
Mhm.
he is a product of his environment. Right.
Yeah.
And he has been he sees the world in a certain way,
Mhm.
and then he loses the girl, like, right, and it's like,
Yeah.
and that's not what he meant to do, and like he just had it
Mm.
twisted. And I think there's like a lot of humanity in that, and I feel like I I'm like I'm very interested in people who make mistakes that cannot be reversed, because
Yes.
because then there's more work for me to do on page, and there is
Yeah.
so much room for them to grow, and it's like almost a thing where it's um like and I think that makes for a really interesting writing experience.
It sure
And
does.
my hot take is that interested writers write interesting books, right? And so
Mhm.
I don't want to like sand down my characters to make them more palatable. I just guess I have to raise the bar to help people see more, like
Yeah.
to understand or empathize more, and I think,
Yeah.
I mean, he's not the main character, so it's like, I mean, I think the clues are in there, but
Right.
it's more about just being like, oh, I don't really want anything to ever be off limits. And I do it a lot in Tropesick, which is like Tyler, the male main character, is recovering opioid addict, and he used with Katie's brother, who did not survive the
Mm.
addiction.
Mhm.
And that's all, like that's the synopsis, and this, like, this book
Mhm.
finds them almost a decade later.
Mhm.
And I I think a part of me is like, oh, it's a little much for a romance novel, but it goes back to what we talked about of like, no, it's not.
Mhm.
Because
No.
like this is real stuff,
Mhm.
and we get to do it with the safety of that ending. And so I think
Mhm.
that like there is like a lot to be learned from characters who have made sort of massive mistakes, and
Mhm.
so it's never about like glorifying the mistakes. It's just about like bringing humans to the page as they are, and sort of
Yeah.
being like, oh, like what broke you, and being like really
Right.
curious about these people. So yeah, like I think
Mm.
my soapbox is um like as a novelist, I want to be able to do that.
Mhm.
And I always sort of like, if you want a banger ending, then people have to grow. And that means that
Yes.
we need to open up with people being
Mhm.
pretty messed up, And I
Mhm.
think and so that's my soapbox. More
I agree.
mess. More mess.
I love it. I
Yeah.
am working on a new on like outlining a new project right now, and I was like, oh, this is so much messier than the one I did right before this, and I'm living for it in the
Yeah, and
sense
then you
of
get to go
like,
like
yeah, like,
stir
oh,
the
they're so
pot.
messy. They just like they want, and they fuck up and they hurt people, but they come back at the end because like they're genuinely like sorry and wanting to do better and wanting to love people better. But every human has hurt someone,
Right.
even without wanting to, because we say the wrong thing, or we aren't in the right headspace to like be sensitive or whatever. And that's not the irredeemable thing that is in the world right now. The irredeemable thing in the world is, the government of the United States of America. Regular human beings like living and loving and hurting each other are not the big villain.
Right, right, right.
So yeah.
Well, we're aligned on our soapbox. Yay.
Yes. All right. I would love to know, as we wrap up, what is the best way for listeners to find you, follow you, support you, and your books?
Yeah, I'm super active on Instagram. That is
Mm-hmm.
my
Yeah.
platform. Lauren Okie, author.
Okay.
Obviously, all one very long word. Should be
Yeah.
relatively easy to find, so I'm there like all the time. And then the best worst thing is out everywhere. You can read it now if you can't wait, I think 2 days until
Right.
Tropesy comes out June
Yeah.
16th. And yeah, I mean, it's to read the book. Like, that's the best thing you
Yeah.
can do if you're interested or request it from your library.
Read and shout about it.
Yeah, read and shout about it. And if not, just like come watch me be a total weirdo on the internet, which I have been. It's so amazing because I have been weird online my whole life.
Yeah.
And now it's
Now
for
you
work.
make a career.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, we do all sorts of weird things over there. And
Yeah.
it's a good time. I try to keep it really fun and unusual and quirky.
Amazing.
So yeah, that's the story.
All right. Awesome. Um, my cat has decided to come out of hibernation right
Let's see
now,
it.
and she's
Let's see the
like,
cat. There's a
I
cat
wonder.
in Tropesick. Everyone needs to know. There's a
She hides from cameras. See, there she
hi,
is.
sweetie. Yeah.
She's so cute though. She's like, what's happening? There's a camera pointing at me. Now she's leaving. She hates the camera. Yeah, that was all. So, thank you so much for coming and chatting with me today. I had a really, really lovely
Yeah. It
time.
was fun. It was nice.
Yeah. All
Okay.
right.
Thank you so much.
And that's our show for today. Thank you, everyone who's tuned in. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed my brunch with Lauren. I had a wonderful time chatting with her. And go ahead and pre order Tropesick if you're listening to this before Tuesday. If you're listening to this after Tuesday, go to your bookstore and buy it. If you're in New York City and you hear this before the 17th, go to the Ripped Bodice website and buy a ticket for Lauren's event, which I will be at, so you can see both of us if you are interested in that. Yeah, and then while you're pre-ordering, like while you're wandering around the city or whatever, just like do a cute little Nat and Kimmy pre-order. You can pre-order it from Books of Wonders website. You can pre-order paperback or hardcover. It will come personalized, signed, and with a postcard. And you can come to my event, well, my panel that I'll be on at Books of Wonder on June 23rd at 6 p.m. And I am so, so, so excited. So that's all from me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, whichever of the days you choose. Love you. Bye.